This video is sponsored by Surfshark. Listen, as high-end phones continue to cost more and more, I'm so glad brands are finally addressing the mid-range market. This might be Samsung's best attempt yet. And by this, I'm talking about the A71. Hi everyone, Thao here. So it's been about a month since my SIM went from the S20 Ultra into the Galaxy A71. And if you aren't aware, for the price of this, you can buy 3 of these and still have money left over. For how most people I know use their phones, it's hard to justify spending that kind of dough. Alright, so rather than a glass or metal backing, the A71 features a plastic build. And truthfully, I don't mind it at all. It's lightweight, has this interesting prism pattern, and outside of a few nicks on the camera's frame, has held up really well. I've been caseless the whole time too, something I wouldn't dare do with a glass-backed phone. Flip it over, and that's where this phone really shines. It's essentially all screen, minus the single hole punch selfie camera at the top. I went without a screen protector, and it's held up great. No major scratches or anything like that. It's so nice, and if you consume a lot of content on your phone, the display will not disappoint. What might let you down a little bit is the single bottom firing speaker. You definitely need to be aware of how you're holding the phone to make sure you don't block it. Another issue for me was in the car. My car mount will cover the speaker, and I kept wondering why calls and navigation were so muffled. Don't get me wrong, it sounds fine, but man, stereo speakers would have been so sweet on this phone. On the bright side, they've included a headphone jack. In terms of biometrics, you get a 2D face unlock combined with an in-display fingerprint scanner. It's an optical scanner that hasn't really given me many problems. The few times I've had to rescan are because I lifted my finger up too fast or my placement was off. There is a slight delay if you're comparing it to the one on the S20 Ultra, but definitely not a deal breaker. Just leave your finger on there until it actually unlocks. One of the biggest surprises for me was the battery life. There have been several occasions where I would go to bed with like 65% left. Yeah, 65%. And I know it comes with a massive battery, but that's still impressive. Doing more intense stuff like gaming or recording video will eat away at the battery pretty fast. To charge up from a completely dead battery, it takes about an hour and 20 minutes with the 25-watt super fast charging. It's easily an all-day battery, and with light usage, you could probably get a day and a half to 2 days between charges. Now that's the kind of battery life I like to see. The biggest question for me was, would I miss the performance of a flagship phone? Honestly, after experiencing this, I think I've been paying way too much for my phones. For day-to-day use, the performance has really surprised me. Opening apps, switching between them, and running split screen all worked great. It runs One UI 2.0, which is Samsung's version of Android 10. If I had to describe the software in 2 words, it would be feature-packed. Things like Samsung Pay, the always-on display, edge panels are all here and offer a very familiar experience. The only major software feature you're really missing is Samsung's desktop mode, DeX. I'm not a heavy gamer by any means, but the phone ran games really well. Things take a little longer to load, but once it's up and running, it's a smooth experience. Cameras are the main selling features of high-end smartphones these days, and Samsung put a total of 5 on the A71, including a 64-megapixel main and 32-megapixel selfie lens. In good lighting, both the main and ultra-wide snap great-looking pictures that I'd have no problem sharing. The macro lens, on the other hand, saw very little use for me. I personally just couldn't find situations where it would be needed. My biggest gripe with the camera is the slight delay when snapping photos. That shutter delay can really slow you down. It's especially obvious with moving subjects or in darker situations. It'll also shoot video up to 4K 30 frames per second. But unless you have a gimbal, I recommend sticking to 1080p just to take advantage of that super steady feature. There are two main trade-offs that I think you should know about if you're considering the A71 as your next phone. Okay, first thing, as someone who's adopted the wireless charging life, I've dropped the A71 on a wireless charger way more times than I should. It of course doesn't have wireless charging. 2, there's no water resistance rating. It's one of those things you think you can live without, but that one time you're stuck in the rain or it drops into your bowl of cereal, good game. In other words, just be extra careful around water. Okay, before I wrap up, a quick word from the video sponsor, Surfshark. It's a service that I've been using for a little over a year now. But basically, Surfshark VPN encrypts the internet traffic sent to and from your devices, making sure nobody can see where you are and what you're doing online, especially relevant on unsecure public Wi-Fi. While visiting Japan, I fell in love with several Japanese shows on Netflix, but to my disappointment, they weren't available when I got back home. With Surfshark, I've been able to bypass the geo restriction and continue to watch without physically being in Japan. There's also no limit to the number of devices you can connect at a time. So with one account, all your loved ones can stay secure too. Try Surfshark now by clicking the link below and using the promo code Thao. You'll get 85% off and 3 months completely free. A massive display, above average battery life, and solid performance makes the A71 a very well-rounded phone. If you refuse to spend $1,000+ on a smartphone or don't want a second-hand device, I will take a hard look at this. You can also throw Apple's iPhone SE and Google's upcoming Pixel 4a into the mix at this price point. The A71 doesn't have the fancy high refresh rate, and no, the vibration motor isn't quite as good. But you'll quickly forgive a lot of these missing premium features, especially with the amount of money you'll be saving. Outside of probably the lack of water resistance, I'm happy with the overall package. You're still getting a solid Samsung experience that I have no problem recommending. As usual, thank you all so much for watching. Until the next one, I'm out of here.